the GlaDEAtor. We're back. This is the GlaDEAtor. We're going to continue that just great historical story of retired DEA Special Agent Gerald Chapman. As Gerald go through his life experiences growing up in the South, particularly in Montgomery, Alabama, during the height of the Civil Rights era. As Gerald participated in a lot of the movement during that time, Gerald later went on to attend the historical Black College, where he graduated with a degree in chemistry. Gerald was later recruited by the late Art Lewis into the BNDD, the predecessor of the Drug Enforcement Administration. Gerald joined DEA in 1969, or BNDD, and began his law enforcement career, starting off in Atlanta, Georgia, and later Miami, Florida, where he met and was mentored by the late Calvin Campbell. And as Gerald tells it, during that time, Calvin Campbell, along with himself, Gerald, and others, created the organization known as NABNA. So we're just going to go right ahead and listen to the rest of the historical part of Gerald's story with the DEA. So I know, I would imagine there's one undercover operation or episode that just stands out with you that you did, and you realize that these guys ain't looking out for me, because you didn't really have another black guy to back you up. The majority of the time, I would imagine you have all white guys, I would say. Is there a situation that you can kind of remember that occurred?
Well, let me say this. At that time, we were working a lot with the state and local people, okay? And even state and local departments didn't have black officers. They were in patrol or uniform. And of course, they couldn't work in their own neighborhoods and stuff. And so, or on the street, even though we did incorporate some of those people to help give some cover and surveillance for us. But within my first year on the job, there were 3 shooting incidents. And I was involved in all 3 of them in some shape, form, or fashion. And really, at that point, I'm saying, man, this is what I really signed up for. It made you think. And we were working with actually GBI. Benny Swint and myself were working down in Columbus, Georgia, with GBI and Edgar Moses, and there was cases like that. There are other cases where, when I was in Miami, working on looking for a fugitive. I mean, we had, I was standing next to one of my partners that got shot, Obviously, he took a shot in the arm, but still, we were very close together, and that could have gone bad,
Yeah.
So there are several cases, but as you grow and you learn it from the experience and the training, and we can talk about specific cases, I think, a little bit later, but I would like to talk about how NABNA, these are the things that brought NABNA together, because we knew these issues existed.
Right.
And you really didn't have anybody else to go talk to except somebody who knew exactly what you were dealing with.
And that was somebody black.
And that's why the Cal Campbell, when NABNA was started, there was Charlie Brown, Calvin Campbell, Pete Davis, Ellis Dean, Gene Johnson, Al Parrish, James H. Williams, and myself. And we decided we just try to put this together, and we put together a panel and a forum to help recruit, help to address the training. I contacted several universities in the criminal justice thing and see about getting some courses, how they can put things with us and help give us some training that will simulate that was being given by headquarters, we did talk to our training people, and that's how the conferences started. It used to be a NABNA conference and training. And we had a lot of state and local, and we brought a lot of state and local people on board. And as a matter of fact, the Memphis Police Department used to be a very big supporter of NABNA because they sent a lot of their people to some of our training sessions.
Right, and I know the majority of them.
And what they did was, and there were other police departments, the Atlanta Police Department and other police departments around the country that used to send their people because they had, back in those days, what they called vice squads. And they didn't have necessarily a specific squad to deal with narcotics at the time. The vice squad would deal with prostitution and gambling and drugs, and I mean, everything was in that little squad. And so they thought that was some good training for them, from their people, to get from us to help them in their departments.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, we went out and did a lot of training for those police departments, even outside of the training of our training academy, because we were teaching them what we knew. And we also knew that gave DEA or gave NABNA a chance to try to recruit people that we saw and work with to help us out.
Right. Smart. Yeah.
So that's what NABNA was actually formed to do, to help give us a way to, number one, have a communication system to look at issues and problems, how to help us address those. One man can't do it all by himself, but you put these minds together. We had some really good, talented people who gave a lot of contributions in putting the charter together for NABNA. And I had the contacts with Parks, Jackson, and Howell law firm in Atlanta. They're the ones who wrote it up for us, but we got a lot of stuff from Al Parrish, who had contact with the ATF, the black agents at the ATF. And it was really about that time, or right before that time, there was a lawsuit. This suit was brought about. And really a lot of people got SIGA and NABNA mixed up. They are not synonymous, and it was basically for us to address issues internally. The lawsuit was something separate, but there were a lot of members that were members of NABNA were also a part of the class action lawsuit because we were black agents. And sometimes some people really got that confused about what was what, and we had a lot of white counterparts who saw that as a backlash. They thought it was all the same. They had no idea. They didn't talk to us about it. And of course, that brought on more dissension, more separation and anger and probably dislike among the ranks.
So explain that further, because I know what SIGA is, and I know what NABNA is. And that's interesting. It's almost like, so they didn't like NABNA because they thought NABNA was the one suing DEA, or how?
Well, you're right. A lot of people thought that NABNA, and they thought that we were forming something. It was kind of like maybe we were some alien foreign entity trying to come in and take over the government. That was the attitude. Now, I was the executive director, first put together the NABNA, and I even wrote a letter and sent it to headquarters. Because we knew we weren't trying to do anything surreptitious. We weren't trying to be undercover. We weren't trying to do anything. We weren't doing anything wrong. And I knew that when the word got out that the black agents were getting together and trying to put together some kind of organization, they thought that, hey. So I wrote up the letter, explained everything, and told them what we were, and we were in support of the agency here to do a lot of things, even the recruiting, and the help do training, all kinds of things. Yeah. I remember getting a letter back that said that, well, first of all, it was we didn't have permission to start an organization, and the only black organization they were recognizing at that time was big, Blacks in Government. You know, that was a universal, I guess, U.S. government type of organization where black people who worked in the government was an organization, but they weren't narcotic. They were just everybody.
Yeah.
If you were a clerk, if you were whatever, but we were trying to put together something that was specific for us. I wrote back and told them that I must have misunderstood. They must have misunderstood what I was trying to tell them, that we weren't asking for permission and that we were no different from the Black Police Officers Association or the U.S. Attorneys Association or any other organization. We were professional people, and again, tried to explain. Well, for a long time, we never really got a lot of support from the DEA on that. And finally, after and I guess they must have realized that, or somebody must have realized that, no, we weren't there to do that thing, to do anything, do any harm. And they finally came around on board. But just like you and I know, when you first start something, if the wrong way, if it's not pitched right, if there's a miscommunication or misunderstanding, and in my case, in my own opinion, I just don't think people really wanted to understand because all the other turmoil was going on. They only wanted to see what they wanted to see, and they may have drawn some conclusions. And remember now, we didn't have a lot of black supervisors and people on the job that could really, stand toe to toe with the administration.
And that's kind of was by design, because like you say, if you didn't have people in leadership, it could kind of fall on dead ears,
Well, right. Or it left people to fill in their own void. And the other thing is, when I thought about this in some perspective, in order to be a good undercover agent, and just because you can have a gift of gab and because you can play that role, doesn't mean that you are dishonest or you lie all the time. And maybe when you tell people something about an organization and they figure, well, they got this lawsuit going on, they're trying to tell us one thing, but they mean something else, that they are drawing conclusions without the evidence, and they form their opinion, and it didn't do anybody any good. It just kind of pushed people away.
So and you explain now. Now explain Seeger.
Well, Seeger was a lawsuit that was brought about by a person was under the name of Henry Seeger. Yes. And it alleges that DEA discriminated against their training, assignments, promotions, and those kinds of things.
And who was Henry Seeger?
Henry Seeger was an agent who
a black agent, right?
A black agent who was actually terminated for cause I don't know. Let's see. He was terminated, and because he was terminated, he was wrongfully terminated. And of course, the court established that the suit that was brought about, that DEA did discriminate in their hiring, work assignments, promotions, the whole work. So that was, and Nabner did not bring that lawsuit. That lawsuit started, and then we had Nabner to try to do a support thing for those who were still on the job, you know.
Do you know Henry Seeger?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you was in one office, and what office was he in?
Well, at the time that he was, Seeger had been in New York. He had been in Ohio. It might have been Cincinnati at the time that he might have been terminated. But like most of us, he was just moving around, you know.
You mean like going from different office to office doing undercover work? Is that what you mean?
Well, we all did that part, but he was assigned. I think at the time that he was terminated, he was assigned in somewhere in Ohio. I think it was Cincinnati, if I remember correctly. But he had been. I think he had worked in New York before he went to Ohio or whatever it was.
Right. So pretty much, when the black agents were just being shifted around, shuttled around to do undercover work for other majority white agents doing their undercover work that they couldn't do, or and so to make their cases out for, but yet they got promoted. But the black agents who actually did the danger and the work did not. Would you say was the case?
I agree. In other words, and as a matter of fact, a lot of people thought that we were only hired to do undercover work and not do anything else. Now, and some of this might have been kind of played out throughout the years as observed by different people. We had a lot more black agents, and I know 4 or 5 that even came on the job through Atlanta. And the other part, the reason the NABNA was formed is because we were losing black agents. They were hiring people, but we weren't. There were some people who just could not maintain or stay on the job. And that was for different reasons. Perhaps, and I'm not talking about they got killed. This is where, when you're in an organization, and this is the difference between being a police officer and being a bad guy. You don't have to worry about making sure you're following the rules and regulations and the guidelines and those kinds of things. Well, if you have a black agent and all he's expected to do and go out and buy drugs or work undercover, I mean, obviously, you got to be trained in what the policies and procedures are, how to do those kind of things, and make sure you don't get yourself wound up and tangled up in these things. And we also knew that the discipline for even a mistake is kind of like ignorance of the law is no excuse. Yeah. But we were more disciplined for a mistake than our white counterparts, and to include up to firing. And we lost. I'm aware. I know 5 or 6 people just from policy procedures. They either got tangled up into doing things that they should not have been doing, but some of them may not have been criminal, but it was against policy, and the actions taken against them could have been more severe than if you found some white agents that did some of the same things. So a very simple case would be the use of an OGV.
That's an official government vehicle.
Mm-hmm. If you, we would use the car to go back and forth to work and doing your work. Some people may decide they want to stop by the store, pick up a quart of milk to go home, and somebody report that. And even if you're passing by the store and you're on your way home and you pick up the quart of milk and somebody report that, that could be considered, hey, your car was not used, you're using the car not to go shopping. You're supposed to go directly or home to work, or you got to be on the job doing something.
Thank you for watching The GlaDEAtor. Tune in next week for another episode.
The GlaDEator.